Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Barbara Snyder, president of Case Western Reserve University, and it is my great pleasure to welcome all of you to a very special ceremony. As you know, the official purpose for this event is to honor one of our most outstanding faculty members who will be the inaugural holder of the Mount Sinai Auxiliary Professorship in Nutrition Research. Providing this kind of recognition for that kind of achievement is truly one of the high points of our life as a university. In celebrating that kind of success, we show our appreciation for the talent and dedication of an extraordinary faculty member, and in doing so, we also remind the community of the excellence to which we all aspire. Now, these principles apply to every chairing event. But today's gathering offers even more reason for joy. We are gathered here today with our remarkable partners, the members of the Mount Sinai Health Care Foundation. So let me say to Vic Gelb and Dick Bogomoni and all the members of the Mount Sinai board that are here today with us, your support for programs that enhance the health of our region is truly awe-inspiring. Your grants directly to the School of Medicine have been transformational, and we are truly humbled by your belief in what we do at Case Western Reserve. So every single day, we try to live up to that by showing you that your faith in us is well-placed. For this chair and for so many other programs that you support at the university and in the community, I just want to say again publicly, thank you so very much. Now, before I turn the program over to our dean, one final note to Henri Brunengraber. It is our privilege to host this program in your honor today, to pay tribute to your work, and we are really, really honored to be able to do that. So I want to say congratulations to you, but I also want to say to your family and friends, thank you for being here today. No one gets here all alone. We all have support, and we know that there were many people who contributed to this moment to get you here today. So to all of you who support him, we are really pleased that you could join us today to celebrate this moment. And to the Mount Sinai Foundation, again, you have our deepest gratitude. Now it is my great pleasure to introduce the Dean of the School of Medicine here at Case Western Reserve University, an outstanding physician and researcher in her own right, Dr. Pamela Davis.
Like her, I am delighted to be here with you today. These events provide precious moments for our community. Between education and research, grant funding, equipment, students, patients, it's quite easy to become bogged down in the hustle and bustle of our daily lives. Right here, right now, we pause. We come together. We pay tribute to a pioneering scientist, and we give thanks to those committed to advancing his work. I'm grateful to all of you who've made the time to be with us today. Your presence adds immeasurably to the significance of the day, and I hope you enjoy what you're about to see and hear. To begin, let me first turn to the Mount Sinai Foundation. Now, President Snyder said some awfully nice things about this organization in her opening remarks, and I'm here to tell you they're all true, and then some. This organization exists to enhance the lives of others. Theirs is a wonderful mission, but it comes with enormous responsibility. How does a foundation best achieve its aims? What investments will yield the largest returns to society? Many grants will do good. Which ones will be truly great? I don't envy the foundation's task, but to its great credit, that everyone involved carries this mantle with eloquence and grace. The Mount Sinai Foundation, its board, and its staff is a group imbued with a marvelous sense of hope and possibility, and we are honored to be among those blessed by your generosity. Today, the Mount Sinai Foundation is part of our program because it has endowed this professorship. But I would like to take just a moment to note some of its other contributions to the School of Medicine. They include the Mount Sinai Scholars Program in the Basic Sciences. This program has allowed us to recruit some of the nation's brightest young minds in medical research, which in turn has yielded huge new grants from the National Institutes of Health. Last February, one of these fellows won an Alfred P. Sloan Fellowship, sometimes called the Young Nobel, because of the accomplishments its recipients have gone on to achieve. The Mount Sinai Skills and Simulation Center, a state-of-the-art facility that allows us to provide the most relevant and vivid kind of education and evaluation possible for our students. And an exciting challenge grant for something we call the Dean's Catalytic Fund. These are resources that allow me to invest in key strategic priorities for the school. These are just a few examples, but they give you a sense of the breadth of the Foundation's engagement with our School of Medicine. Today, though, we are focused on that time-honored tradition within academia, the bestowing of a chair to recognize a university's most eminent scholars. Would Vic Gelb, Chair of the Board of Directors of the Mount Sinai Health Care Foundation, please join me on the stage? So Vic, at Case Western Reserve, we've decided that the professor ought not be the only one to leave such ceremonies with a token of esteem. After all, the donor does have a bit to do with this honor. As you can tell, however, this professorship is just one of several examples of Mount Sinai's amazing support. So Vic, we decided that the foundation should receive an extra special demonstration of our gratitude. This is no straight-backed, uncomfortable, hard wooden chair, something that befits an organization of your stature.
Is it a lazy boy?
And this chair will reside, I hope, in your foundation office.
You can keep on talking about the foundation if you want. Well, we're here really two reasons, two remarkable achievements that we're recognizing. One is the Mount Sinai Auxiliary. Without the Mount Sinai Auxiliary, these wonderful women who in 1903, when Mount Sinai Hospital was started, it was started because of Jewish women who were raising money for 20 years and used that money to found the hospital. 100 years later, 1993, there were 3,000 members, and we'll talk more about what the Mount Sinai Auxiliary has meant to this community and to the hospital. But we're here to honor Henri Brunengraber, and the nutrition department that he heads up has made it internationally famous. But you have to know how it all got started. It got started on a golf course, Oakwood Country Club, when Lee Corman, who was chairman on the board of the Mount Sinai Medical Center, and Vic Birdies, who was director of medicine, chief of medicine. Vic was telling Lee about the problems of obesity throughout the world. And that it goes to show you how much headway we've made. In 20 years, we're still talking about it. But it was then when Vic Birdies, Dr. Pepe Edelstein, and Dr. Sal Ganous created OptiFast, a medically supervised way of losing weight. And it was there that Lee, who was a real visionary, Lee went on to be the founding chair of our Health Care Foundation. Lee saw the opportunity of establishing a Department of Nutrition at the hospital. And that eventually evolved into what we have today, a world-class Department of Nutrition. From that point on, a man named Sam Pleener enabled us with $2.6 million to create the department on the main campus of the medical school. And then shortly thereafter, the auxiliary, after the hospital had been sold to a for-profit company, the auxiliary, it had dropped its name, Women's Auxiliary, and just women, the Mount Sinai Auxiliary, took in men. I can tell you, I'm a lifetime member of a Women's Auxiliary. I have it in boldface on my CV. But in any event, Sam Sampliner made it possible to make the move to where we are. And I was on the search committee. Henri reminds me that brought Henri here 20 years ago, which is one of the great moments in Mount Sinai's history and in the Case Medical School's history. And you'll hear more about Henri in the minutes ahead of us. But without the Women's Auxiliary, we would not be here today. And here today are some of the women who served as past presidents of the Women's Auxiliary. And I would appreciate if they would stand up, please. Barbara. In your programs, there's a list of all of the young women and some of the younger women who were past presidents. You imagine, just a short 20 years ago, they had 3,000 members, and they served with great distinction in the hospital in so many ways. And I'm sure that those that are here can speak of the wonderful pecan rolls, homemade, that were made and in the snack bar. But to those that are here and those who have served in the past, we're deeply indebted. So we thank you for the recognition, and I want Pam and Barbara to know that as much as you think about us, double that in spades as to what we think about the medical school and the leadership that Barbara Snyder has given to the university and that Pam has given to the medical school. To both of you wonderful leaders, we say we relish and honor the partnership, and that partnership and that bond is stronger than ever. So thank you for the recognition. With the chair, we'll have to play musical chairs to see who sits on it. And it's a very special recognition. And to Henri, words fail me in describing how proud we are of the role that we played in bringing you from Montreal and from the East Coast, your colleagues that are here with you from all over. You are one of our guiding stars, and we set our course based on you.
We'd also like to say a special thank you to the people who worked so hard for the foundation and for whom the professorship is named. Would the past presidents of the Mount Sinai Auxiliary and Community Partners please come forward for a moment? Dr. Brunengraber has something special for each one of you. So these are the ladies who helped to make this all possible. Just stand there in the front and so that we can all applaud you. So now our program turns to the individual who has brought us all here today, Dr. Henri Brunengraber. In some ways, this moment may have been preordained. As a high school student, Dr. Brunengraber so loved chemistry that he actually read his chemistry textbook in his other classes. In fact, he kept up this habit even after those teachers reprimanded him for not paying attention to their subjects. That's dedication. Dr. Brunengraber went on to earn both a medical degree and a doctorate in biochemistry. He has held positions at Brandeis, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and the University of Montreal. And then, to our great good fortune, he came to Case Western Reserve University to become the chair of our Department of Nutrition. Now, there's much I can say about Dr. Brunengraber and his accomplishments here over the past 19 years, but time requires that I select only a few key points to illustrate his influence. So please consider just these three. Of all the departments of nutrition in the country, ours ranks first in research funding from the National Institutes of Health. Over the course of his career, Dr. Brunengraber has personally published more than 140 peer-reviewed papers and received 8 patents. Finally, let me quote this description of Dr. Brunengraber from one of his one-time faculty members. He is someone who has a strong will coupled with creativity. He takes more of the approach of the artist than of the scientist. In short, Dr. Brunengraber, or as his students call him, Dr. B, is a person of purpose and passion, intellect and ingenuity. And now it's my great pleasure to welcome him to the stage to present his lecture.
Thank you, President Snyder, Mr. Gelb, and Dean Davis for these most kind words. It is really a great pleasure to see so many friends and dear colleagues gathered together on this most pleasant occasion. What I would like to do over the next few minutes is retrace the journey that brought me here. As you know, I came from Belgium, where in 1944 we were liberated by the US Army. At the time, my mother and I were hidden in a convent of the Sisters of Mercy, and my father was in a labor camp in Germany. As a result of this, I was brought up with a great feeling of gratitude towards the United States. Many Europeans and many Germans do not realize that they owe their freedom and well-being to the tens of thousands of GIs who came to Europe, fought and fell to liberate the continent. This is a country people fight to get in. This is not a country people fight to try to escape from. And so it was only normal that I would plan to come one day to this country. And after completing my medical training at Brussels University, I took the boat for New York and went to Brandeis University, where I met my mentor, Dr. John Lowenstein, who is with us today. Thank you so much, John. At about the same time, that is 40 years ago, I met the love of my life, and she has ever since been the wind under my wings. And we have now a delegation of the French choir of Laurel School who will interpret a 17th century French song that exactly reflects my feeling.
Les lilas sont fleuris, dans les jardins de mon père, les lilas sont fleuris, tous les oiseaux du monde viennent y faire leur nid. Auprès de ma blonde, qu'il fait bon, fait bon, fait bon. Auprès de ma blonde, qu'il fait bon dormir. Tous les oiseaux du monde viennent y faire leur nid. Tous les oiseaux du monde viennent y faire leur nid. La caille, la tourterelle et la jolie perdrix. Auprès de ma blonde, qu'il fait bon, fait bon, fait bon. Auprès de ma blonde, qu'il fait bon dormir. La caille, la tourterelle et la jolie perdrix. La caille, la tourterelle et la jolie perdrix. Et ma jolie colombe qui chante jour et nuit. Auprès de ma blonde, qu'il fait bon, fait bon, fait bon. Auprès de ma blonde, qu'il fait bon dormir. Et ma jolie colombe qui chante jour et nuit. Et ma jolie colombe qui chante jour et nuit. Qui chante pour les filles qui n'ont pas de mari. Auprès de ma blonde, qu'il fait bon, fait bon, fait bon. Auprès de ma blonde, qu'il fait bon dormir. Qui chante pour les filles qui n'ont pas de mari. Qui chante pour les filles qui n'ont pas de mari. Pour moi ne chante guère car j'en ai un joli. Auprès de ma blonde, qu'il fait bon, fait bon, fait bon. Auprès de ma blonde, qu'il fait bon dormir.
I would like to mention that Madame Denise André, who is 80 years young, has been teaching French in the Shaker High School system for more than 40 years. Merci, Madame André. Merci, Mesdemoiselles. So at Brandeis University, Dr. Lowenstein, Mireille, and I worked on the regulation of fat and cholesterol synthesis in the perfused rat livers. After completing the postdoc, we went back to Belgium. Mireille went to medical school, and we decided that we would move permanently to the United States. And I found a position at MIT, and there I found an excellent friend who is with us today and fellow hiker, Dr. William Thilly, with whom we did many trips in the forests of the East. While at MIT, I started to collaborate with a faculty from Case Western Reserve University. Dr. Bernie Landau, of blessed memory, was the world expert in the use of isotopes for metabolic studies. He was particularly good at identifying artifacts of the use of isotope that can have impact on the interpretation of the data. And so for 20 years, I trained with Dr. Landau, who unfortunately is no longer with us. But through his intermediary, I received one day a letter from Dr. Saul Gunus, who was chairing a search committee to find a chair for the Department of Nutrition at Case Western Reserve University. Now, when I told friends and colleagues that I was going to interview at Case Western, I started to hear the usual Cleveland jokes. However, I met with Dr. Leslie Webster, who at the time was the chair of the Department of Pharmacology here, and Dr. Webster was very enthusiastic on this city. He kept repeating that Cleveland is a jewel of a city. And I can confirm, Les, I don't know if you are in the audience, but I can confirm that you are absolutely right. After 20 years of living here, we had an excellent time. It's a great city to raise a family, and we have been extremely happy living in Cleveland. In 1990, I moved to Cleveland, and I started to work both at the Mount Sinai Medical Center and at Case Western Reserve University School of Medicine. Mount Sinai was a tightly knit family where the medical staff and the administrative staff worked together in harmony. And Mr. Shakno and the other fine gentlemen were respected by all the staff. But to run such a hospital requires more than physicians and administrators. It also requires an army of auxiliaries. And I would like to thank the auxiliaries and the community partners for the work they did that led to the awarding of this chair. In addition, I met and got to interact with a number of great colleagues at Mount Sinai who were involved both in clinical medicine and in basic science. In 1991, we inaugurated the laboratory, the construction of which had been funded by a sweet gentleman by the name of Sam Samplina. He was very shy. He did not want to have his name on any plaque. And this picture was taken just as he was whispering to me, "Do you need any more money?" and before I had time to answer, he said, "That's okay, I'll send you another $1 million." And with that $1 million, we worked on the intellectual property research, the development of artificial nutrient that led to the awarding of 4 patents to the university. At the same time, I was working at the university and interacted with 4 deans, the late Dean Cherniak, Dean Berger, Dean Horwitz, who gave us prime research space in the biomedical research building, and Dean Davis, who put the Department of Nutrition on the same financial status as the other departments of basic science. Many, many thanks, Pam. And also interacted with my dear colleague, Dr. Richard Hansen, who had run the Department of Biochemistry for 20 years, had created the metabolism training program, and had been an awardee of the Salzman Award of the Mount Sinai in the early 1990s. However, to run a department is not that simple. Fortunately, I had the precious help of the vice chair, Dr. Edith Lerner, and together we built what we think is a well-balanced department with the right mixture of basic scientists and nutritionists. And also, we were helped with very skilled administrative staff. Unfortunately, in 1996, Mount Sinai Medical Center had to close because of financial reasons, and that put the budget of the Department of Nutrition totally out of equilibrium. However, we were fortunate that the Mount Sinai Health Care Foundation, run by Mr. Mitch Bolk with these fine gentlemen, gave us a transition grant that allowed us over 3 years to restructure the department and to go back into financial balance by 2001. Over the years, I was fortunate to get funding from the Mount Sinai Medical Center, the School of Medicine, the Mount Sinai Foundation, the Huntington Foundation, and to a large extent for the National Institute of Health. During these years, I'm particularly proud of a study that led to the design of a nutritional treatment for children suffering from a defect in fat oxidation. And this project, conducted with a colleague from Dallas, Dr. Charles Rowe, has led to major improvement in the quality of life and health of the children affected with that group of disease. Which brings me to my current group, which is shown here, together with the staff of the Mouse Metabolic Phenotyping Centers, one of the 6 centers funded by NIH in the country. And this center is run by Department of Nutrition faculty. This very nice ceremony is not my swan song. I don't retire, no way. Okay, I don't intend to retire. I want to continue doing research and gathering new knowledge, but also, in the word of the Mount Sinai motto, I want to continue transmitting knowledge from those who came before us to those who will follow us. However, I pause a moment to reflect and count my blessings. I have been fortunate to reach this age in good health, surrounded by a loving family, by dear friends, by very competent and collegial colleagues, by many trainees I'm proud of, and in the middle of a rich and diverse community. I thank you all for sharing this day with me, and I wish you the very best. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. I would like now to introduce two dear colleagues who will say a few words. Dr. John Lowenstein, who was my postdoc mentor, has been on the faculty of Brandeis University since the 1960s. For a while, he was the chair of the department. And then Dr. Richard Hansen, who has also been chair of the Department of Biochemistry at Case Western Reserve University, will also say a few words.
It's a great pleasure to visit Case Western Medical School again on this happy occasion honoring Dr. Henri Brunengraber. My first visit was some 30 years ago to give a seminar. The medical students had decorated the walls of the research building and the medical school with very large posters of a gentleman who was a hitter for the Cleveland Indians. This hitter was named John Lowenstein. And in the middle where the logo on his jacket appeared was a tiny notice announcing my seminar. My opening sentence at the seminar was to reassure the students that I was just moonlighting. We're here to honor Dr. Brunengraber. I first got to know him when he came to my laboratory as a postdoctoral fellow. Normally, this would have involved a mentor-advisee relationship. With Dr. Brunengraber, it was quite different, and for me, much better, because Dr. Brunengraber was as much my mentor as I was his. We learned from each other, and progress in the lab was rapid. We wanted to expand our productivity, and I was fortunate to recruit to my group Dr. Marie Boutry, who was not yet a doctor at that time, also from Belgium. This not only increased our productivity in the lab, but it was the start of another highly successful collaboration because Doctors B and B became husband and wife. And I'm happy to see the very successful products of this collaboration in the audience today. Since coming to Case Western, Dr. Brunengraber has gone from strength to strength as chairman of Human Nutrition, as director of the Case Mouse Phenotyping Center, and as director of the amazing liquid chromatography mass spectrometer facility. These have made Case Western one of the best known nutrition departments and a world leader in the rapidly growing field of metabolomics in particular and human nutrition in general. It is common to close these brief remarks by saying last but not least. I will reverse this and say most of all, we have to thank the Mount Sinai Foundation and the Mount Sinai Auxiliaries for making all of this possible. Thank you very much.
This is a great occasion. Henri, that was a wonderful lecture you gave. And thank you for including me in this and asking me to say a few words, and I'm really pleased to do so. I think it's clear to all of us that the receipt of this professorship is a great honor for you, and I'm sure I know one that's very well deserved. I have a somewhat unique perspective on Henri and his career here since I was here. I came in 1978 as chairman of the Department of Biochemistry, and at that time, the Department of Nutrition was split between the College of Arts and Sciences and the medical school. Not a very good arrangement. I think people who are still here remember those days. They were sort of a schizophrenic approach in administration for the department, which wasn't the best of things. The department had a very strong undergraduate program in nutrition and had a large enrollment of undergraduates and master's degree students. and had some strong research programs in the department at the time. And in the mid-1980s, the then dean, Richard Bierman, supported the transfer of the Department of Nutrition into the medical school. And I can remember the attitude of some of the basic science chairs when this occurred. They didn't feel that nutrition was really a real science, quote unquote, and certainly not one to include in a medical school. Looking around the country, there are a few medical schools that have departments in nutrition, and I think none more distinguished than the one we have here at Case Western Reserve. At the time, it seemed to me evident that nutrition didn't get the respect it deserved. I think that has really changed now. One of the issues at the time was the era of molecular genetics. It was the era of the gene. And if you weren't studying some aspect of gene function, it was really difficult to survive in our sciences. Scientists in the area of nutrition particularly felt the pressure, especially when they applied for NIH grants to support their research. And through all of this, however, the public continued a very obvious interest in nutrition. After all of us eat every day, and all of us has an opinion and an interest in food one way or the other. And although the field of metabolism, which is the basic science underpinning nutrition, was also out of favor, particularly among younger scientists and students who had to choose a career, the number of metabolic diseases continued to be there. They were important aspects of of public health. They were obvious problem. Obesity, diabetes, atherosclerosis, dyslipidemias were and continue to be major scourges of humanity. And if anything, the incidence of these diseases is increasing throughout the world. I believe the importance of metabolic diseases in human health is a major factor in what I would call the redux of nutrition as an important biomedical science. Now, it's great to see Vic Gelb here, because I think really, as a faculty member, I'd have to say that Mount Sinai really took the lead in the renaissance of nutrition. I think without them, we wouldn't have what we have today. I think that's absolutely certain. The leadership of the hospital, it was led by Vic. He was on the search committee. I was on the search committee too. I remember very well the enthusiasm that the leadership at Mount Sinai had for establishing a nutrition department here. They really were behind it and enthusiastic about it. And they were really visionaries in what could be developed and what should be developed at our institution. I think they understood that basic research in nutrition was not only a key element in the medical community, but was critical for the future of research here at our medical complex. As you've heard, they provided the funds to bring Henri to Cleveland and renovate research, and they continue his research space, and they continue to support him over the years, him and his work, and it's been a very important element in the success of his program. As he's indicated, I think we all realize that. We owe a lot to Mount Sinai in this view. We know there's no shortage of very worthy causes to which they can donate and which they can support. You can see them all around us, particularly in these times. And the fact that they support a chair here is a tangible evidence of their confidence in the scientific community here. I know Henri is honored to be named to this chair, and I can safely predict to all of you here and to the foundation that he will be great honor to this. And you were very proud that you selected him to be the first Mount Sinai Auxiliary Professor in Nutrition Research. And finally, a few words about Henri and his contributions to science in our university. I first met Henri in the 1970s. I was giving a seminar at Brandeis. John had invited me, and I noted two young people there. They were very much a couple, Henri and Mireille. They were very much a couple. You could spot it right away. And I remember them both from those days, even now I recall. Henri is an exceptionally gifted and very dedicated scientist. All of those who know him know that. His research is pure metabolism, I would say. He is interested not in understanding generalities about metabolism, but rather in a rigorous understanding of how metabolic systems truly function. This has led him to pioneer isotopic approaches to probing metabolic pathways, some of which you've seen, and John Lowenstein referred to several of them, and ultimately to his current interest in the new field of metabolomics. He has been, I think, all that we could have ever asked for a chairman over the past 20 years that he's occupied the position, continuously funded by multiple NIH grants, which has turned out to be the true test of a scientist in the current system. And he's been able to combine his own basic science research with the complexities of running an academic department in a medical school, which, let me tell you, ain't easy. Under his leadership, the Department of Nutrition has prospered and ranks among the top departments in medical schools in the United States. It's been a real pleasure for me, and I know I speak for all my faculty colleagues here and those that aren't here, to have had the opportunity to work with him over the past 20 years. And it's my fond hope that the Mount Sinai Auxiliary Professor of Nutrition Research, he'll continue to flourish and remain a creative and important force at our university. Henri, congratulations. This is a very well-deserved honor.
Thank you, Professor Hansen, for those eloquent reflections. I also want to thank Professor Lowenstein for being here, coming all the way from Boston to honor his friend and colleague. Henri, would you join me on stage, please? Your own address explains better than anything else why you're receiving this honor. Your research has enhanced our understanding of diabetes and other metabolic diseases. Your leadership has expanded the scope and the impact of the entire department, and your commitment to teaching has allowed legions of scientists to pursue this essential field. I want to quote from one example from a student dissertation. I would like to dedicate this work to my teacher and mentor, Dr. Henri Brunengraber, for seeing my potential. In many ways, this sentence epitomizes Dr. Brunengraber's professional life. Whether in his own high school classroom or the laboratory or leading a department or training program, his focus has always been on the potential, on what could be. Indeed, it's fair to say that he discerned possibilities when others saw only pitfalls. Today, with a top-ranked department in this well-deserved honor, it's clear that more often than not, Dr. Brunengraber's more optimistic perspective was correct. For all that you do, all that you are, it's my privilege to present you with the Mount Sinai Auxiliary Professorship in Nutrition Research. Please have a seat in your chair. Now, this concludes the formal part of our program. Dr. Brunengraber and his family will remain for a few moments for photos, and I encourage the rest of you to enjoy the refreshments outside, and we'll be out shortly.